So I want to talk just a little bit today about what's going on up in North Dakota right now with the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Reservation and the oil company that is trying to put a pipeline through an Indian burial ground very close to their reservation. Of course, the oil company was given permission to do this by the federal government. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about this particular situation. I just have a very cursory understanding of what's going on up there thanks to Google. So I'm not going to sit here and try and debate the legalities of everything that's going on, but I want to kind of look at it from just a little bit different point of view and hopefully get some conversation started that maybe could do some good long term, or maybe it'll just get a good conversation started on where we are as a nation and what we're willing to do when we see what we perceive as injustices and whose rights we are willing to stand up for and whose rights we aren't willing to stand up for. Now, the angle I want to look at this from is basically the Bundy Ranch versus the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. Now, when that happened, there were people from all over the country, militias from all over the country who joined together to stand up for the Bundy Ranch's perceived rights against the BLM. And not only that, but they were willing to take up arms to do so. They were willing to go to jail or possibly even be shot and killed to defend the Bundy Ranch against the BLM. And now, when we have a situation that I personally feel is just as important, these same people are silent. Imagine one day you're sitting at home and you get a letter in the mail saying that your local cemetery is about to get bulldozed. The same cemetery where your father or your mother or your grandfather or even your great-grandfather is buried, and it's being bulldozed because the federal government gave permission to an oil corporation to put a pipeline straight through it simply because that's the quickest way to save money. Now, you would obviously be upset, as I would. You would demand that they respect what is to you sacred ground because you have family buried there. That's exactly what's going on in North Dakota right now. This is that tribe's burial ground. It has been for a very, very long time, long before this oil company was even around. And they are demanding, as you would, that the federal government and the oil company respect this ground. You would say, hey, look, I don't care if it costs you any more money. Go around. Don't go through what we consider sacred ground. And they have the right to feel that way. And they would also have the right to look around at a situation like the Bundy versus BLM situation and wonder, why aren't those people just as upset about what I'm going through as they were about what happened there? And it's a perfectly acceptable question to ask. I mean, as citizens of this country, shouldn't we care just as much about what's going on in North Dakota as we did about what happened between the BLM and the Bundy Ranch? Shouldn't we care just as much about these people's rights? Shouldn't we also care just as much if there is an entity backed by the federal government that is abusing its power? And shouldn't people who are willing to drive across the country to stand up and take up arms to defend one person's rights be willing to do the same here? I certainly think so, but I'll leave that up to you to decide for yourself. In the end, like I said, I'm not an expert on this particular situation. I can only comment based on the information I have, but I certainly think that it's worth having the conversation. It's worth asking the questions because no matter what happens, we always need to strive to protect everybody's rights.